2 million people died 80 years ago in the deadliest battle of Second World War at Stalingrad. The Battle of Stalingrad was the turning point of the war in the European theater, and the deadliest and the bloodiest battle, one of the bloodiest battles of the world warfare. 2 million people, just think about it. It happened to be that Volgograd, this is the new name of the city, which I recognize, is my city. It's my home city. Hello there, I'm Elena. This is my channel Enough. It's my political channel. I'm originally from USSR and Russia, and now I live over 18 years in Canada, and I'm an expert on the war in Ukraine. Welcome to my channel. Today we're gonna talk about the new fascists visiting Stalingrad again. I'm talking about Vladimir Putin. I'm inviting you to my city, and we will talk about what happened today. On February 2nd, which is today in Canada, ended the Battle of Stalingrad. And this is monument that's called Mother of Motherland. She's 85 meters tall. She's standing on the top of Mamayev Hill, Mamayev Kurgan. It's like a top part of the city where was the bloodiest part of the bloodiest battle happening. And today I'll show you a few artifacts, and I'll show you what's happening now and how in my city they're restoring monument to Stalin, which is basically the same thing if in Germany they now will put a monument to Hitler. And in nowadays Hitler, Putin, came to visit my city. I didn't invite him, yet he came. And he dared to lie to Russians right on the soil of Stalingrad. These are part of the memorial complex in Stalingrad, in Volgograd nowadays, representing the Battle of Stalingrad. I call it Stalingrad because at the time it was called that way, but I'm completely against the naming my city or renaming it even for a few days to the name of the worst, one of the worst criminals in history, Stalin. You want to know? I'll show you a little bit more historical artifacts I have today, and I'll show you what is happening. So I have been here many times on this memorial complex, and you walk all the way uphill to get to the Mother of Motherland. Look how small people look like to compare her. This is not just because they're so far away, it's because it's representation that people are small and motherland is big, and everybody have to be sacrificed for the motherland because people are nothing, and the country, you mean government, is everything. This is a great and accurate representation of Russian society. People are nothing, people are garbage, they can be sacrificed by millions. 27 million roughly died of Soviet people, murdered by Stalin, and they put in that murderer a monument. Today, nowadays. This is new Stalin showing up. How to win without Stalingrad, Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. He's standing with a whole bunch of women for some reason dressed up in army uniform, which there are hardly any women in Russian army. 80 years of victory in Stalingrad battle. In many countries suffered horrible things during World War II. Yet countries like Canada, United States, Europe, they're not celebrating a victory. They're celebrating death of the people. They saying not celebrating, they mourning death of the people. They making it Remembrance Day to never again. And that's what the Russian veterans who I personally met were thinking, that never again. And Putin spitting on the graves of these people by turning that into, we can repeat it. What they can repeat? 27 million people dead? I believe it. 2 million people died in Battle of Stalingrad? I believe they can repeat it because that's what they're doing in Solidar and Bakhmut. In the tiny town of Solidar, 10,000 people used to live there before World War II, before the war in Ukraine, sorry. And yet, 14 kilometers down, they created it like a big victory by piling corpses of people who nobody care about, the criminals from jail, who nobody care how many of them died. That's what Putin throw at it, and Prigozhin from Wagner Group. So this is what's happening. Putin, who turned Mariupol, city of Mariupol, into that horrible place. Like, look at that. This is Mariupol, 2014-2021. This is what it looks like now. It looked like Stalingrad. My city of Stalingrad was wiped off the planet. Like, the buildings were destroyed. The city was destroyed. Want to see some artifacts? This is, I showed you in the past in one of my videos. This is the shells. Like, this is from the anti-tank rifle. And this was actually British Kainok from 1917, 1918, which Russians used, maybe not just in the Stalingrad battle, but to practice, target practice. And this is from the Pepper Shah machine gun, or even for TT pistol, it can be used, this kind of weapons. And for this particular gun that could be used. So these things we're still finding on the fields of Stalingrad. I was in the university, we were sent to a collective farm, I told you before, and this is what we was finding, piles of it, on the fields where people plowing and growing potatoes and stuff like that. Every year they're cleaning it, and every year that metal and pieces of shrapnel, piles of it coming out of the ground. Decades after the war. It was at the time 60 years after the war. 60 years passed, and the ground around my city, this is what we found. We found on a row of potato, I personally found a lemon grenade, unblown, without a pin. Yet some military men came and take it. They take it. We had right beside the field a pile of the artillery shells unblown, which once in a while military people come, take it and blow it up somewhere. This is what it is like to have a war on your soil. If people doesn't know what it is, people of Volgograd, who now some of them wanted to rename it into Stalingrad, they should know better. They should know what it's like. They keep listening to Putin, to his... This is what happened. They keep listening to Putin, saying we can do things like that now. He made new nuclear threats today. In my city, he dared to show up there, lie to my people, and make new nuclear threats. This is what happened. This is famous fountain of children. This is what destroyed. This is how my city was look like after that war. Doesn't it look familiar? Look at Ukraine. Let's talk about my city a little bit more. This is the entrance from the Rostov side, from the side of the city, this road going to Rostov city. This is mean that hero city, and now Russia bombing hero city Odessa, for example, and some other hero cities. This medal, the cities were awarded for their bravery in World War II. It used to call Tsaritsyn, and at the time, this is a buckle of some Russian soldier of Tsar time with a double head eagle. This is actually antique, so it's probably maybe before World War I, somewhere in 1904 or something like that, I'm thinking. And Tsaritsyn means city of the queen, the Tsaritsa, the queen of Russia. So this is what original name of my city was. And then came people on this kind of hats, Red Army after the revolution, and they renamed my city Stalingrad, the name after murderer of people Stalin. And now there are some rumors that some people wanted to turn it back to Stalingrad. I am completely against it, and this will not gonna happen. And now my city called Volgograd because of the river Volga. And right before Putin's visit, the city basically cleaned itself up to the point that they took stray dogs off the streets, and they trying to patch up some some streets of the city, renamed the whole city to Stalingrad. See, they crossed Volgograd and wrote Stalingrad. It's unbelievable. This is the parade in my city. This is actually a new church, it hadn't been there. This is downtown Volgograd. This street, believe it or not, called the Prospect of Peace. Over there is a planetarium. This is very important building. This is a main superstore. In the basement of this building, which barely survived, not much was left out of the building, but it survived. In the basement of this building, historical event happened. That's exactly the place where were captured the only German Field Marshal Paulus. The only Field Marshal was captured. And Hitler actually gave him a title of Field Marshal. He thought Paulus will kill himself. He wouldn't give up himself to Russians. Yet, he gave himself up, he was captured, and this is where it happened. This is a theater right there. And this is a Hotel Volgograd, this is Hotel Intourist for foreign tourists, and this is how downtown Volgograd looks like. And this is called Alley of Heroes, it's going this way. This is TV Rain.
2 февраля, Волгоград. 80-летняя годовщина победы в Сталинградской битве. В центре города большой праздничный.
The big parade in the downtown Volgograd for the 80 years anniversary of the victory in the Battle of Stalingrad.
Парад. По главной площади прошла полиция в форме НКВД. Проехала военная техника.
Believe it or not, on the main square of Volgograd, when police dressed up as NKVD, if you know what it is, it's an organization which predecessor of KGB, responsible for murders of millions of Soviet people in Russia. Yet they dress them up in that uniform and they parading in downtown of my city. And these vehicles with V and Z, modern days Nazi symbols of Russia.
Техника с символикой Z и V.
Идет парадный расчет Главного управления МВД России по Волгоградской области. Личный состав в форме бойцов легендарной 10-й...
They call the legendary 10th Brigade of NKVD. That's how they dressed.
Стрелковой дивизии войск НКВД. Летом 1942 года воины дивизии первыми встали на защиту...
They were first who started to defend Stalingrad in summer 1942. And here they are, dressed up as the bloody murderers of Russian people. Soviet people, not just Russian people. People all over USSR, which was 15 republics inside of USSR, and one of these republics were Russia, and another one was Ukraine.
Нашего города и сражались с превосходящими силами фашистов.
Не было...
So, and this is how Volgograd was preparing to Putin's visit. They were quickly started to fix roads, which looked like they were bombed sometimes before when I was still there 18 years ago. And we had a joke that a couple Germans came to Volgograd and said, wow, we kind of knew there was a war, but we didn't know there are still... roads would look like they were bombed, which there was no war there for like 60, 70 years at the time. Yet they show up and the road still wasn't fixed. Now they're covering up the half-broken buildings with those billboards for the Tsar didn't see the destruction of the city. This is how my city looks like. And this is how they're covering it up. Oh, the victory!
В центре города, напротив административных зданий, даже нарисовали новую разметку на дороге.
They drawing in new lines on the road, on the wet roads. Everything is done just to show Putin, like a Potemkin village it's called in the past. It's kind of like a idiom, meaning something to smokescreen kind of thing, to pretend it is better than it is.
Дорогах, прямо на мокром асфальте.
Сделали все очень красиво, хорошо, прямо на мокрый асфальт.
За 2 дня до приезда президента решили заделать ямы на Астраханском мосту.
2 days before the president visit, they decided to fix the holes in the bridge towards Astrakhan city. They couldn't fix it for years and years. Now, 2 days before the president visit, they decided to do it. Just wonderful. And then Putin showed up. Guess what happened? Nobody was allowed to come to that big memorial I showed you, the Mamayev Hill, when Putin was there. Like the whole point of the celebration or whatever, glorification of that victory of Stalingrad battle, it's a remembrance of people who died there. Yet nobody of Volgograd people or anybody was allowed to come to that memorial complex. Because Putin decided to come and show up with flowers. That exactly thing was happening in Leningrad or St. Petersburg nowadays, when there was a big anniversary as well of the siege of Leningrad. When Putin a few years ago, 2020, 2021, he showed up there and decided to put flowers in that graveyard, the famous cemetery. The whole cemetery was cleaned up of people. People were standing behind the fence. They couldn't come and put flowers on the graves of their loved ones who died because of Soviet government and because of that war. And Putin showed up, so they closed the whole cemetery. They couldn't even come to bring flowers to the graves of their dead relatives who died during the siege from starvation in Leningrad. Yet Putin showed up. So here he is, dare to put flowers on the graves of the people who died in the Battle of Stalingrad while bombing Kramatorsk, which is last night, and in the morning another city in Ukraine was bombed, Kramatorsk, and there are people dead. About, I think, 8 people died in that attack. We will see it a little bit later.
Как пишет Кавказ Реалии, перед приездом Путина полицейские пришли к местным активистам.
This is Anna Mangait from TV Rain. She said, before Putin arrived, police showed up at the homes of the local activists and political activists. And they made them to stay at home and didn't even come out that day. Many of them, telephones was even blocked, they say. And even underaged, 17, 16 years old young people who was against Putin and dare to protest sometimes, they show up at their door and try to tell their parents that you shouldn't allow your children to go out because Putin is coming. They basically lock them up in their homes. Welcome to Russia, welcome to Volgograd. And there's Putin again, threatening the world with nukes. Again, right from my hometown Stalingrad. But before that, we will talk about that in summer, last summer, this is what happened in Volgograd. Volgograd was literally drowning in feces. When the pipes break down, couple pipes, and the whole city was drowning in feces, which were leaking into river Volga. This is Volga, the main Russian river.
Октября в Волгограде обрушился свод сливного коллектора. Это случилось в Ворошиловском, в бывшей пойме реки Царица.
Voroshilovsky district, it's a river, used to be river Tsaritsa here, going into the Volga, but there is no river, it's dried out now. So, this is what was happening in Volgograd.
Рядовая, на первый взгляд, авария имела большие последствия. Поток грязной воды затопил сквер, детскую железную дорогу и...
The dirty water flooded the park, Children's Railroad and the Museum of so-called Russian history. There is nothing left of Russian history anymore.
Музей «Россия. Моя история». Сточные воды более суток выливались в Волгу.
This basically feces, more than 24 hours, was leaking into Volga River. This is actually a Volga River station. And 200,000 people were left without water, without heat.
А власти крупнейшей техногенной аварии за 30 лет.
Biggest technogen catastrophe in 30 years. That's what happened in Volgograd. This year, 2022, in October. Politics channel, different reasons for that, but yet people will stay without water.
Технические подробности волнуют в меньшей степени, а причины произошедшего они связывают с безответственностью сотрудников коммунальных служб.
Nobody bombed Volgograd. There is no war in Volgograd, yet people were standing in lines for water. 200,000 people for 5 days were left without water, without heat. in Volgograd. Where was Putin then? Why Putin didn't show up then? Emergency situation was in Volgograd at the time. Yet Putin didn't bother to show up. He showed up now. This is people standing, getting water.
Которые прожили без воды почти 5 дней. Технические подробности волнуют.
So, and now Putin showed up. Volgograd Philharmony, where he had a speech. This is Times Radio. I looked at the crowd and it reminds me USSR so bad. This was just outrageous. I just really upset, angry.
The security of our country.
Oh, collective West threatening Russia. He's lying and lying again. Nobody attacked Russia. Nobody planned to attack Russia. Nobody even planning now to attack Russia. NATO was reducing its forces, as I proved on my channel again and again. Russia is the one who attacked Ukraine, and not just in 2022. It attacked Crimea in 2014, brought there over 70,000 troops. And you're welcome to watch my channel, and there is a special playlist called War in Ukraine 2014. And now I'm finishing making series of videos about Crimea, how it happened, when the Russian people with Russian passports, Russian citizens came from Russia, and a regular Russian army with military equipment, tanks, showed up in the land of Ukraine because Putin decided it's a good idea to grab it. And now he's trying to tell Russians that we're defending ourselves, that we were attacked by the West. It's a lie. And nothing of what Putin said in his speech is relevant. It's all made up. Absolutely everything of it. So we don't send tanks to their borders. But we have the means to respond. And it won't end with the use of tanks and stuff like that, he's saying. We didn't send our tanks. We're gonna respond in a different way, as Putin is saying. So basically, Putin is threatening these faces. Like, I seen them in USSR. That's exactly how they sitting, how they clapping, how they reacting on the speeches of Stalin, Lenin, how they reacted on the speeches of Brezhnev. So basically, right now, Putin completely cancelled Khrushchev. He cancelled Khrushchev. And this is what's happening now. The monument to Stalin opened near Panorama Museum, near a big museum about Stalingrad battle, in my city of Volgograd. I did not allow that to happen. I don't want that mass murderer on my soil of my city. It shouldn't be.
Сталину.
I am against renaming my city, even for a few days, to Stalingrad. This shouldn't happen. My city called Volgograd. And this is how it's supposed to be. I did not invite Putin, and I also heard maybe Kadyrov and Prigozhin will come to my city for Stalingrad battle anniversary. I did not invite them either. Fascists, get off. Go out of my city. Пошли вон из моего города. Get out of my city. I did not invite them. They should be out. And this is another hat I can show you. It said Okanagan stands with Ukraine. Canada and all the good Russian people are stand with Ukraine. No fascism, no Nazism in my country, not in any country, and definitely not in my city of Volgograd. It's called Volgograd. It's about big river Volga. Stalin should be condemned, and so is USSR. And never again. It shouldn't happen. The wars like that shouldn't happen ever again. Putin is a criminal. He should be arrested and charged, and so is Prigozhin, Kadyrov, and everybody who supported Putin, and all the propagandists. Freedom to political prisoners, freedom to Navalny, and glory to Ukraine. Thank you for your attention, and have a great day.